Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here on a Sunday evening. The sixth episode of Slow Living, a webinar series driven by sustainability rooted in community. Today, we have an all-star guest speaking cast. Thank you for joining us, Don Rodriguez and Madeline Kennedy. They are here from Into the Sea, which is a plastic pollution nonprofit speaking awareness and volumes from inland to outer regarding our consumption, our habits, and then ultimately at the end point of where everything goes. So I will give them the floor, but before that, we suggest that if you have any questions during their presentation today, please put it in the text box, and then I will call on you, and we will certainly have everything answered accordingly. But without further ado, I will give it over to the wonderful guest speakers today.
Hey guys, hi ladies, thanks for joining us. I forget that we can't hear you. But Kevin, can you confirm that everyone can see our screen?
Yes, everybody is able to see your screen. You are looking very good.
Great. My name's Dawn. I'm Madeline. And we're with Into the Sea. As Kevin said, Into the Sea is a mission-based nonprofit bringing awareness to plastic pollution in the ocean. Our two main outlets is we dress up like mermaids and we go into the schools and educate the youth on their plastic pollution and their plastic consumption. And we also host local creek cleanups. But with everything happening with COVID, this has kind of given us an opportunity to step back and really focus our time on our partnerships. So we're excited to share some of that with you today, and without further ado.
All right, so we wanted to talk about easy ways to use less plastic in your home. We're all spending more time in our homes, and so being conscious in our choices is a great way to still work on the issue of plastic pollution from home. So one of the first ways is reusing containers as Tupperware. So if you, I included this picture here from a recent camping trip. Everything there is all reused. So the jug for water was aloe vera juice, you know, the water bottle, and then a jelly jar. So there's all different ways to look at the products you're using. So if you do buy a container of jelly, you can still reuse that instead of immediately throwing it away or even recycling it. And that saves you money as well. Instead of buying Tupperware, you have the opportunity to just reuse what you already have.
Madeline, I apologize for interrupting you, but your screen is not shared.
Got it. I will see.
Thank you for noticing that.
You're very welcome. So I apologize. We were good to go with clarity, but we have not popped up the PowerPoint just yet.
All right, let's see. We've got screen share going. We're here. Can you guys see us now?
Perfect. Yeah, that looks very good. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So this is the picture that I was referring to with the reusing the containers as Tupperware. And so in addition to reusing those containers in your own homes, you can also use them when you go to restaurants. I know we're all maybe limiting that now, but generally it's a great way to save more plastic when you go out. A lot of us don't eat all of our food, and so when we bring it home, this gives you an option to save that plastic use. You can also use reusable shopping tote bags. Save plastic there, and grocery purchases and thrifting. We'll talk more about those in depth on the next slides.
All right, guys. So grocery shopping, if you are past the Instacart shopping and deliveries, you have a little more control, right? And I know this is a little different during COVID times, and we want you to know that we're aware of that, and we're cautious and we're sensitive of that. And just to kind of tell on myself, I will tell you, our home was a lot more plastic free before COVID, and with everything happening, it's taken us some time to really figure out what that new normal is. So I tell you that just to be easy on yourself, right? So when we do go grocery shopping, we are very intentional with our selecting non-plastic containers. If there is a plastic honey jar sitting next to a glass honey jar, we'll choose the glass. We try to keep in mind reusing these containers. So like Madeline mentioned in the last photo, the aloe juice. Mm-hmm. Yeah. She reuses, and we are similar, our Tupperware container here in our kitchen is really a bunch of reused yogurt containers and different to-go containers that, we've repurposed. Again, kind of going back to being sensitive with COVID, bulk sections are slowly coming back, but I know at our local King Supers here, we still don't have the option to do bulk peanut butter, for example, right? So what we've done instead is we've gotten this massive jar of peanut butter that we might not finish in 2020, but that way it limits us from getting the smaller bottles more regularly. So I wish, I look forward to opening our dialogue in a little bit and kind of learning about how you guys do this and ways that we can learn from you guys as well. So really reiterating that the reusing our containers, not only for these bulk purchases. For example, when we went to the store to get our peanut butter, we would bring our old peanut butter container to the store to reuse those. But just always thinking in the back, in the forefront of your mind, really, how to reuse these containers that you're purchasing. And another way to reuse those is actually the food prep, right? So if you're able to be intentional about your food prep for the week, it's not only typically healthier, right? But it's also, you're also able to reuse those packages in your own home. And then finally, we have buying local. So if you're here in the Denver area, we've got some really incredible farmers markets. We actually met in Austin, Texas, and Austin is pretty serious about their farmers markets as well. It's a great way to go plastic-free grocery shopping. You can bring your own bags, and a lot of them are being safe lately with the social distancing.
So with thrifting, this is a great way to reduce your plastic use in a way that is not always as obvious. So power of thrifting, when you do buy secondhand, this means your less clothing is going into landfills because you're supporting that reuse kind of idea. So instead of those items being thrown away, they're being sent to these stores where you can then purchase them. And if you're supporting the stores, then more people, more things go into that cycle of the reuse and secondhand. And then also less resources are used and wasted in the production of new clothing or items generally. It costs a lot of energy and resources and everything to produce individual pieces of new items when we already have so much in production and already there. And then also less pollution. That kind of goes along with, that's on a lot of layers, but there's herbicides, pesticides, everything that goes into the growing of cotton that goes into a new piece of clothing. So even if 60%, I believe, of new clothing production is used with synthetic fibers, that would like mostly polyester. And so buying less of those materials new is helpful, but then there's also the consideration of the pollution that goes into production, even with natural materials. And then, so different options of where you can buy these items secondhand. There are thrift stores, flea markets, and if you want to kind of stay away from going out to places right now, Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace are great options. And then also a great option is clothing swaps. So you can, get a couple of your close friends, family, people together and have a clothing swap, and then everybody gets something new and nobody buys anything, and it gives you time to spend together as well. So, yeah.
I want to add, Madeline and I were talking about this recently. So I'm 6 months pregnant. So a few months ago, I packed away my clothes that I won't be able to wear either during pregnancy or during the winter. And then, I told her when I open it up again, it's going to be like I went shopping in my own closet. And I'm excited for that. So maybe even trying to tuck some clothes away and then letting them surprise you, and really just shopping in your own closet could be kind of fun. Again, we know it's difficult to be totally plastic free, and by no means are we saying we're perfect at it. It is absolutely a work in progress. It is something that we have to be intentional about. It's something that we have to keep as a conversation. And I don't want you to leave here thinking if you don't go 100% plastic free, you're failing, because absolutely that's not the case. If you turn down your straw at your local Chick-fil-A and you use your own straw, hey, that's a huge win, and give yourself credit for it. Another resource we'd love to make available for you is a really fun audit that we're a part of, and the app is called Trash Blitz, and we encourage you to download the app, and we encourage you to reach out and ask additional questions. But Trash Blitz is really this collaboration of different nonprofits coming together, including Into the Sea, and working on our environmental issues at a city level. It's really focusing on the policy and working on policy change. So, when we collect and audit this information that we're all participating in, we're able to then go to these decision makers and let them know what they could do and what they could impact our plastic use and our everyday life. So we're excited to talk to you a little bit more about our partnership and how you guys can use Trash Blitz in your own home.
Yeah. So before we go into that as well, just to give some background on 5 Gyres, they are the group that has brought Trash Blitz into existence for us. So they empower action against the global health crisis of plastic pollution through a variety of means, through science, art, education, and adventure. And we've included this, I believe this will be shared with you all afterwards, but we've included this kind of timeline of what they've developed over the years, and it's really pretty incredible of the impact that they've had in this realm. So we would love for you all to take a look more into what they do, and we're excited to be partnering with them to bring the Trash Blitz to Denver.
Yeah. And so Trash Blitz and 5 Gyres, they're really incredible. So even though Trash Blitz, the app, is powered by 5 Gyres, 5 Gyres is really going into it with, hey, we want all nonprofits and all community members and everyone in their neighborhood to be able to access and participate. So Into the Sea and ourselves and partner organization Inland Ocean Coalition are really leading the movement here in Denver. We are hosting the Trash Blitz Denver week at the end of October that we welcome you to participate in. And really what we'll be breaking it down to is we'll be breaking Denver into different districts and different sites. And we are empowering people to jump in and really provide data in their particular site. That could either be a creek cleanup in their neighborhood, that could be a home audit, and we can share more information about this. We do have a note here that says, hey, if you're not in the Denver area, reach out to us, and we want to make this available to you in your city too, and we want to facilitate offering Trash Blitz to your community as well. So just kind of keep an eye out for it. We want it to be on your forefront, and we welcome you to participate with us. So that said, thank you so much. It's a lot of information, and we're excited to welcome any questions, concerns, or additional topics you want to discuss in our time together.
Madeline and Don, thank you so much for your presentation. That was highly informational and also very, very, I want to say the right word, practical.
Cool.
That is what I'm looking for. It's very practical because that's the hardest thing, right? Is we all use plastic and we don't want to be. It's how the system's set up. So what's helping us is individuals like yourselves giving us the education and the means, because we see a lot with the green movement is people think it's a little too expensive and it's not as feasible. And these options are readily available nowadays, and they are feasible for individuals of any income. So what I'd like to do now is open the floor for questions, and I specifically would like to start. So Into the Sea, I can't tell you how much I love that name, because first off, your logo, it says it all, because it's outward branching rivers, estuaries, everything from start to end is what we do has all the impact on the world, right? And so Into the Sea is, are you into the sea? Are you very much into, I would say, I can't even speak to what that means to me personally, as with respect to your mother recycling, because it has so many different forms. But another one is we're putting what we use into the sea as well. So I love that. There's a lot of depth to it, and it's phenomenal. So as an organization, one thing that I applaud you on is river cleanups and getting the community together. And so going off of that, the biggest thing with COVID is we are a little bit isolated right now. One of the reasons we started this webinar was to have the educational aspect of individuals like yourselves to help the community learn and come together during these times. So my biggest question to you is, how is that affecting river cleanups? And is there any management or any physical activity that Into the Sea is specifically involved in right now?
Do you want to go in, or?
Sure. So we have something planned in Austin. We have a creek cleanup for Walnut Creek Metropolitan Park planned for October. Date tentative, as everything sort of is at this point. But we are working on thinking how we can reframe it. Doing a creek cleanup doesn't have to be with a group of 20, 30, 50 people. You can absolutely go with your family or your close friends, or, a couple people, and do it keep your safe distance with other people in the park, wear your mask, or just gloves no matter what if you're picking up trash. But it's something that everyone can do on their own. And I think a great way to kind of share it with your community, even though you aren't with everyone that you had planned to maybe initially, would be to share it on social media and, share pictures of like, hey, I went on this hike today and this is the trash that I picked up, or look at what we've done. And I think that's a great way to also inspire people, because there are a lot of people that are in your network that may not even be thinking about the trash that's in our waterways. So you can really inspire a lot of people that way.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I appreciate you answering that question, and kind of going off of that. It's hard for us being in Colorado to think that we have an impact on our oceans, right? And so what we're doing here is completely the overall picture, because our impact doesn't just stay locally, it transcends globally. So sorry, I had to interject right there, Don, but the floor is yours.
No, it takes me back, honestly, to a conversation you and I had, Kevin. Like, if we're gonna host a creek cleanup, do we really want to encourage people to bring their latex gloves and their disposable, their single-use masks, and like that to me just doesn't feel great, right? So, I mean, like Madeline said, try to get your garden gloves. Maybe you don't have them. Maybe your neighbor does. Maybe that's a good chance to get to meet your neighbor. Maybe you don't have a mask, but you can grab a scarf or a bandana, or if you're in Colorado and you have one of those headpieces. I've been getting creative, right? And we're using my ski headpieces for my masks. Get creative. But I love what you said about sharing on social media and really inspiring people that way.
Absolutely. I think some of the best innovations in the world are coming out of necessity. So it is about getting creative, and the whole purpose of repurposing is to use the materials already in circulation and not obviously pollute further. So we actually have a question from Victoria, and I will unmute Victoria so she can ask the question. Just give me 1 second. And the floor is yours, Victoria.
Hi, thank you, both of you, for participating in this. It's been great to hear all of your insight. And it's something you mentioned kind of early on briefly, but my question, I'll just kind of reread it, has to do with the representation of dressing up as a mermaid, particularly for young people in school. And so in my question, I say it seems like that's something that kind of sets you guys apart in a positive way in terms of your approach. And I think that visual representation and kind of is exciting to students and can be extremely effective. And so could you elaborate a little bit more on your experience doing that and how it's been impactful for the youth that you've been engaging with?
Definitely. So first of all, it is just as much fun for us as it is for them, because we go out, we wear the fun wigs and the face makeup and the whole deal. And it's first of all, dressing up like a mermaid, it's fun, right? But then also getting treated like a princess when you walk into these schools, it's just fun, right? So it's just as much fun as it is for them. And I always say that because some people are like, oh, it's so cool of you to do that for a school. And it's like, yeah, but it's also awesome for us, right? So, and I'm kind of saying that kidding, but we absolutely see light bulbs clicking and turning on with these kids. And I'll kind of walk through quickly what it's like to be in a classroom setting. So we come in, we're dressed as a mermaid, there's oohing and awing, and is she a real mermaid? Yeah, she's a real mermaid. There's some side dialogue, and it's so much fun, right? And then we start off with a little game of bingo, and it's, and we want to be sensitive, right? Because the worst thing we could do to these kids is have them go home to their parents and be like, mermaid so-and-so said you are living life all wrong, right? Like we're not trying to bring any hostility. We're trying to be sensitive here. So we start with a game of bingo, and we give them little fish, either paper or stickers or whatever we can reuse for them to put on their bingo card. And we'll say, who has drinking out of a plastic bottle this week? And they're like, oh yeah, I have. And then, we go through it. Who has used a plastic bag this week? Oh, I have, and they're kind of excited about it. And it's funny sometimes, even kids as young as 5, they'll say, I don't drink out of plastic bottles in our home. And, I kind of want to be like, high five, but like, oh, okay, well, have you seen anyone drink out of a plastic bottle? And we get it to a point where at the end of our game, and this is also our icebreaker, that the kids have a full bingo card, right? And then we introduce the question, well, hey, why do you think Mermaid Dawn is sitting here asking you guys about plastic bottles, and they really start connecting the dots, because plastic bottles end up in the ocean and they kill your fish friends. And it's like, yeah, Tommy, that's exactly it. And so it's fun. We open up some conversation. We share some statistics with them that aren't, terrifying, but that are still able, easily, they're able to grasp them, depending on the age level. So we think, and from our experience so far. But then we also leave with a takeaway. So typically it's, well, what can you do differently? You can say no to straws when you go out to the restaurant with your family, and even something that small really empowers them.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for your question, Victoria. So we are just a minute to the end. So I would like to wrap it up, and thank you two so much. So going off of everything you said today from the educational piece, it's compounding factors. It's little deeds and little shifts in your daily routine that have the most impact. And so I really appreciate you two being here today and allowing us some insight on how we can make some change in our lives, and then also how it's feasible. And then going off of that, what other companies are doing, like Gyres with their new app, to make it more readily available information-wise, because I feel like statistics are so important for people in order to see their imprint. And so I can't thank you enough for being here today on a Sunday evening. Dawn and Madeline, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night. And to everybody that tuned in today, thank you for being with us and allowing this platform to even be available. It's made possible by you guys. So we always like to say at the end, respect your mother and respect each other. You guys have a good rest of your night. Thank you so
Bye,
much.
guys. Thank you so much.